I never thought I'd end up in cuffs over a goddamn bird feeder, but there I was at 3:17 a.m., hands zip-tied behind my back on my own front porch, while Karen from down the street. Yes, that Karen screamed in her phone about armed intruders and HOA violations like she was auditioning for a true crime podcast. The cop who showed up first looked half asleep, scratching his head as she jabbed a manicured finger in my hummingbird feeder dangling from the eave, the one I'd hung 2 inches too low to appease her fascist rulebook. And just when she started foaming about property values plummeting into the abyss, I twisted free enough to yank my off-duty badge from my wallet and slap it on the dew-slick grass. Detective Ramirez, badge number 4782. Stand down, ma'am. This is my house. She froze, her Botox-frozen face cracking like cheap porcelain under the patrol car's floodlights. The neighborhood had been her kingdom for years, ever since her husband ditched her for a yoga instructor in Sedona, leaving her to weaponize the HOA covenants like a suburban dictator. I'd moved into this cul-de-sac McMansion hellhole 6 months ago, fresh off a messy divorce, chasing that American dream of barbecues and block parties. But Karen? She was the nightmare fuel, the self-appointed enforcer who'd once fined Mrs. Patel $200 for parking her Prius at a rakish angle that offended the aesthetic harmony. My bird feeder was just the latest in her crusade, after she'd already reported my kids' trampoline for excessive bounce noise and my Halloween lights for being tastelessly festive. It started innocently enough, or as innocent as HOA drama gets in Phoenix's sweltering sprawl. I'd hung the feeder one lazy Sunday, a cheap Amazon special to draw in the ruby-throated hummers that flitted through the saguaros like tiny jewels. By Monday, her glitter gel pen was scratching out a violation notice. Per section 4.2.b, avian accoutrements must not encroach upon communal visual corridors. Remove by 5 p.m. or face levy. I laughed it off at first. Hell, I was pulling 12-hour shifts chasing cartel runners through the Sonoran dust, not sweating some busybody's bylaws. But she escalated, taping photos of my infraction to every mailbox, captioning them with passive-aggressive zingers like "Birds welcome, slobs not so much HO harmony." That's when the betrayal hit. See, I trusted her once. Fresh in town, I joined the neighborhood watch potlucks, figuring a single mom like her. Wait, no, she'd remarried that limp-dick accountant who nodded along to her tirades. Might cut a new guy some slack. We even swapped stories over Costco Chardonnay. Her about the ingrates who ignored her petitions, me about collaring dealers who preyed on kids like my ex's new boyfriend probably did. She called me the hero next door, bake me lemon bars. But the second I pushed back, politely emailing the board that her rules were verging on harassment, she flipped. Accused me of undermining the community fabric, whispered to the wives I'd brought urban grit to our oasis. Suddenly, I was the villain, the Latino cop 2 ghetto for her picket fence paradise. By week 3, she doxed my shift schedule on the Nextdoor app, warning folks to lock up twice when the night owl detective was home. I seethed through stakeouts, fantasizing about her choking on one of those lemon bars. Revenge? Nah, I played it cool, until that feeder became my line in the sand. I repainted it neon pink, added a sign, Karen's Kryptonite, Hummers only. She lost it, pounding on my door at dusk, screeching about retaliatory vandalism, while her hubby cowered in the minivan. That's what led to the 911 call. I'd ignored her final warning, crashing early after a double shift busting a meth lab in South Tempe. My phone buzzed me awake to sirens, her voice wailing from the street. He's armed. I saw the glint. Officer safety. The responding rookies bought her hysteria hook, line, and sinker, cuffing me before I could spit out my credentials. But flashing that badge? Pure poetry. Her eyes bulged, mascara rivers carving black trails down her cheeks as she blubbered. But the rules. The lead cop uncuffed me with a chuckle, muttering, "Ma'am, false alarm's a misdemeanor. Maybe stick to bake sales." The board dissolved her enforcer gig by dawn, emails flying about overreach and liability. Neighbors who'd kissed her ring now ghosted her barbecues, pity scrolling her rants on Facebook. She tried suing me pro SE, citing emotional distress from badge-flashing trauma, But the judge, a no-nonsense Latina from my precinct softball league, tossed it with a side eye that said, "Girl, bye." Last I heard, she's listing her house, hubby packing for a solo fishing trip to Alaska. Me? I kept the feeder, added a cop-shaped wind chime that tinkles mockingly in the breeze. Revenge isn't sweet. It's just the echo of her own bullshit bouncing back. In this a circus, the real crime was ever letting her run the ring.